5 Natural ways to treat depression. Natural ways to treat, cure and to solve so many issues of life has now become the main approach of this century. After centuries of seeking scientific, medical help and treatment methods, human beings have now discerned its shortcomings and adverse effects. Not only has these methods failed a century but also compounded the problems in that the disadvantages they tend to bring adversely affects by giving chances and loopholes to other new issues. This in turn has diverted the attention of the century towards Mother Nature, who has given us all solutions to our problems, yet it takes careful deliberation and practice to unravel these natural ways of treatments and solutions. Depression simply is a state of the mind that leaves its victims feeling down, low-spirited and minded, lacking interest in anything, thus affecting daily activities. Aside from the heart, the mind is one of the most active systems in the human body. Our involvement in everyday life comes from the mind, which is why it's very important to keep it healthy at all times. Our interest and the feeling and sense of participation solely come from the mind. This makes sense, right? The ability and energy to do what you think of is also the responsibility of the heart, since it makes sure to supply energy-containing blood to the necessary systems to handle it. So you now know why it is very crucial as part of our existence to always safeguard the mind from all sort of unhealthy attacks. To treat depression, we need to understand the food of the mind. Assuming you have the interest in a particular activity and yet you feel too weak to do it, I guess the solution will be to eat some food, right? But assuming you have the full vigor to do any given activity yet your interest is too low due to one or more reasons, what will be the solution? Well friends, hang on and keep listening as I share with you 5 of the many natural ways to feed and take care of the mind. The mind naturally has major foods that can get it functioning very healthy. These major foods are the natural ways to treat every mind disorder, including depression. With it being said, let's delve right into these natural ways. Sleep. Sleep is the mind's most significant food and spa. If humans were made in such a way that we never slept, the feeling from a problem would continue and remain in us for as long as our lifetime. Yes, every issue of the brain tends to decrease with time simply because we sleep. This means that time is even meaningless without sleep. The conclusion and trick then is that the more we sleep during depressed times, the more the impact or level or rate of that feeling reduces. During sleep, the mind is said to be in a sort of hibernation mode. Eyes gets closed, therefore no images or objects from the eyes for the mind to process, which also means zero thoughts. At this time the mind cools down. Most signal processing gets halted, thus few signals to the brain. Just like how the processor of any device becomes fast and very responsive, and also all open files, folders, games remain closed until reopened after booting from a long shutdown. After waking up, every feeling, being it good or bad, doesn't automatically start, but when started, they become very responsive and processed fast. Let me break it down. Sadly, most people don't know more about how to explicitly select specific thoughts for the mind to resume or start processing at fresh and healthy speeds after waking up. We rather get back to the unhealthy thoughts. Because the mind is also fresh at that time, those thoughts gets processed very efficiently, leaving you even more miserable or happy depending on the thoughts. This means that after a sleep, we subconsciously and unaware decide to think about what runs through the mind. What runs through the brain and how it impacts us as to whether it gets us depressed or happy was intentionally but subconsciously determined by us. Very sad, right? Luckily the brain can be tamed and directed, and one of the very ways to get it done naturally is first getting a good sleep. When you sleep you feed and treat the brain naturally, therefore it submits to you as its master. It is at this stage that you can tell it to do whatever you want it to do. So get some sleep, friends, not just some sleep but a long and good one. Now that you have this in mind, try to think positively after waking up from sleep. Absolute rest. Suppose you are feeling depressed and can't seem to use sleep as a natural way to reduce or treat it, consider using the absolute rest technique. Absolute rest is narrowing the mind's various activity and processing to a single process you desire. Simply I call this mind control. Let's say you are feeling depressed, which is resulting from a breakup. Now, even though thoughts of it hurt, it's also good and healthy to think about it, but in this case, thinking about it only. The mind normally still processes signals from your ears, eyes and skin at all times, whether you are angry, depressed, etc. This means a probable increase in the feeling of depression, since too many stuffs flowing through the mind can even get it functioning abnormally and thus leaving you in a more confused and depressed state. In such a case, it will be always advisable to narrow down the mind to the current cause of depression only, which in this example is the breakup. This even allows you to develop and reason out solutions to tackle the problem. So how do you achieve it? Naturally, it is very good for a person at certain times to stay only during, for example, times of depression, even though it's also sometimes very dangerous. The safest way to do this is through absolute rest, i.e. without light, sound and any other distractions. You can enter your room and put off the light so that you don't see anything, and also away from any form of sound. In this state you don't reduce the level of depression, but rather you are able to reason healthily and normally amid your depressed state. You will be surprised to come up with ideas to get over this state, since the mind thinks about it only in pure and natural ways. Musical instrument or sound. Aside from the above-mentioned natural ways to treat depression, healthy sound, without lyrics, is also another effective way. The mind is naturally attracted to good sound. Music is one of the natural ways to calm the mind down, even if it is still in high processing. So what is a good sound? As humans we differ in so many ways, for example taste, sight, ideas, etc. Therefore good sound is relative. But generally most good sounds are calm, unlike the dancing and high ones. Sound is one of the powerful tools to control the mind. The mind reacts to sound and communicates back to the whole body. When you hear a dancehall track, it is very likely to dance to the rhythm. Whilst on the other hand you are very likely to calm your whole human system down at the hearing of a soft and relaxing sound, even into sleep. Note that you don't dance to the lyrics of that track but to the sound of it. In a depressed state, remember we are trying to calm the mind down, not rather confuse or heat it up. So it is always advisable to use good and calm sound in this natural technique. Like I mentioned, good sound is relative, so get one that sounds okay for your brain, which is also very relaxing. This natural way can be coupled with the absolute rest technique to ensure high level of success. Good sound can impact or curb the activities of the mind. Take a break. Enter a cool room without light and any distraction and put on some good musical sound without lyrics. Lyrics will get you thinking again if it contains words or statements from what your depression resulted from. You will eventually at this point realize that the impact and level of your depression state is reduced. This can even lead to sleep, and sleep, my friends, like I mentioned earlier, is one of the most effective natural food and spa for the mind. Sex. Sex, among all, is also one of the most powerful natural ways to calm down the brain. As powerful as sleep itself, it reduces all thoughts since its processing resource allocation is very large. It needs super processing power from the brain because it involves another party or human being. It also accomplishes what the sleep technique does, but this time whilst you are awake and ever active. If you consider all the other natural ways I've mentioned, you will realize that they are all done in a relaxed mode. Sex, on the other hand, accomplishes what all these other natural ways do, even when the body and brain is at its highest activity peak. So how does sex accomplish this? During intercourse, the brain raises its processing to the maximum. Blood flows to the brain to tune it into this wonderful moment. Your wild thoughts and desires and appeals are as results of this. Just like how cold a metal can get, even able to freeze anything after heating it at higher temperatures, the brain also cools down, even to the extent of getting you feeling sleepy, because the body gets tired from this exercise and in turn sends signals to the brain to relax. The point of ejaculation is your advantageous moment. At this time you have your conscience back to normal. Concentrate and think clearly and come up with good ideas even with your partner. Remember that two heads are better than one. This can only be achieved with the person you truly love, not just anybody or any sex. Remember that a good and enjoyable sex is not always about how long it lasts. It is rather and mainly about the person or partner involved. It is called mutual love. Find someone you truly love around who also feels likewise about you. Have some good sex together. Take advantage of that nice moment and discuss your troubles with your partner. There is nothing more relaxing and mind-calming than sharing your problems with someone who really cares. Fall asleep whilst discussion is in progress. After waking up you will realize just how powerful sex is, all given us free of charge by Mother Nature. Exercise. Exercise naturally heats the brain up without thoughts. Thoughts heat the mind up, but exercise does that in a positive way. When exercising, blood runs through the brain so that it gets exhausted. Signals of rest are exchanged even in so much as sleep signals. Sleeping right from your exercises is an effective natural way to treat depression. During exercise the major thing that the mind processes is signals from the body and heart. The mind listens attentively to the language of the heart and body just to know when it's time to stop. This is to prevent heart failures and other injuries to it when exercising. In the process, the brain will at a certain time reduce all signals processing even of depression from the brain to concentrate on the heart and body. This will leave you free from most thoughts whether negative or positive. If the exercise is still kept going, the body will start alerting the mind just to get you to stop. At this point, the depressive state of the mind is reduced critically. Use some sleep and after waking up start fresh and positive thoughts only. So friends, these and many more are natural ways given us by Mother Nature to handle effectively most mind disorders. Try them and you could save some bucks for other important things since you will not be visiting your doctor. I hope you enjoyed listening this and I believe it was very informative and beneficial to you. Hit the subscribe button here if you would like to receive more natural ways and remedies to so many mind disorders. Thank you and enjoy.